Good morning, Stampers. I'm Tina with Tina's Crafty Ink Spot, and welcome to Technique Tuesday. Today's technique we are going to do, it's an old-time favorite. You're absolutely going to love doing this if you haven't done it. It's called candle stamping, and you're going to be able to take any image you want and transfer it onto a candle. Now, normally, I like to use pillar candles. This is a technique I often do during the holidays. Thanksgiving, Christmas, because you can make beautiful decorations for your dinner table or gifts. I'll show you some of last year's because I also make them and give them away as gifts. I wrap them, and this is merely candle stamping. And I did this little Western themed one. Just put a little ribbon on it, and usually I put a little gift tag on it, give them away as gifts. Here's one with just some flowers on it. Makes a nice little table decoration and a little inspirational quote. This one here is to let you know that if you have, after you see this technique, if you have a piece of designer series paper that you really like one of the images, you can actually cut the image out and do this technique onto your candle. This is an old designer series paper we had, I believe, a couple years ago with Stampin' Up! And I was just in love with these little deer. And of course, I made a little, gift tag to go with it, added some ribbon. So we're just going to jump right in, and I'm going to show you how simple and fun this technique is. So first off, you got to decide what you want to make a candle with. And the reason I came up with this idea was I'm giving this card that I've made um, using the Leave a Little Sparkle with this wonderful unicorn. I made this card for a friend that I'm going to make a candle as a gift that matches it. So we're going to match a candle to this card. So what we're going to need, you need a candle. Okay, now you don't have to use expensive candles. Dollar store has candles. But what I will tell you is the higher quality, the easier it is. The wax melts differently. You can also do this on flameless candles as long as the flameless candle has a wax coating on the outside of it. I don't have one with me, but they do make those flameless battery operated candles that actually have a wax coating on them. And if you can find one of those, you can do it on those also. You need to have wax. My husband got me this set of 2 pillars, and I think it was maybe $5.99 at Walmart, and or 3 short pillars. I think this was also $5.99. So he got me 3 short ones. Um, like I said, you can even do this on little mini votives if you felt so inclined. So what you need is you need a candle that you want to make, and you also need gift wrap tissue paper, just regular thin tissue paper. You can get this also at the dollar store, big pack of it for obviously $1. So you need tissue paper and the stamp set we're going to use. And I'm going to do a little twist on this one because I'm actually going to use the new shimmer glitters to create my image onto the tissue paper. Just to show you it, and all it's going to do is add a little bit of texture to your image on your candle. Plus I wanted it to be sparkly. So what I've done is I've taken a little piece of tissue paper here. It's here in my Stamparatus, and I'm going to stamp my image. So like I said, I wanted to use the embossing glitter. So I'm going to actually stamp and emboss this the same way as I would on regular cardstock. So I've got my Versamark. I am going to grab my embossing buddy, just to be safe. You know, you should kind of always just use your embossing buddy when you're embossing. So I'm going to put a little bit of that on there. And let's pick our image. Of course, I want my big unicorn to start. So it doesn't matter where you place it on there. And I know I'm going to want the greeting that says, leave a little sparkle wherever you go. So I know I need that too, because I want that done in the black. The black, we have new embossing powder that's actually got glitter in it, and I absolutely adore it. So we're going to use that. So let me pick these up. We're going to ink them up real nice with our Versamark. Stamp them like you normally would. There we go. Now I'm going to bring in my scrap paper to put the embossing powder on. Move this out of our way. I'm just going to bring in a scrap paper here. You'll be able to see the image through the tissue paper. It's light, but you can see it. Just lightly tap it off. I'm going to move this aside so I don't blow glitter everywhere. Bring in your heat tool and heat it as normal. Now this is going to heat up very fast because it's really thin paper. So I usually kind of warm up my heat tool a little bit. I just love this new embossing powder. The glitter that shows through. Hopefully that's showing on camera. I think I got it. Let's get it right light. I think I had a spot on my paper that got into the greeting there a little bit. I may have to redo that greeting part. But, so I can redo that. But what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to now, what we want to do is you want to make your image the way you want it on the candle. So we're going to add a little bit of color to our, and I'm just using regular Stampin' Write markers. Now you can use your Stampin' Blends on this technique, but know that when your Stampin' Blends hit this tissue paper, it's going to bleed outward. So color fairly close, you know, not right up to the line because it will bleed. So I'm just coloring in. I'm going to make a rainbow mane here. I love the stamps. I love unicorns. I think they're fun. So I'm just doing some assorted colors. That one was Lovely Lipstick. Let's add some Tempting Turquoise in there. Alright, kind of need my... I'm a feather tip girl. I like to color with the feather tip of my markers. Add a couple streaks of tempting turquoise in there. Now let's add, oh, melon mambo. Nice bright melon mambo in here. I'm just randomly coloring parts of his mane. Now we have granny apple green. Let's add some mango melody. A little bit of orange in here. You can do your main solid color if you want to. I don't know, I think of a unicorn and being colorful. Okay, let's add now a little pineapple punch. Oh, I forgot to do his upper mane. Okay, I need to add a little more color in here. Let's add another little blue. Maybe some pink. Little orange. There we go. Now, if you want to add some dimension to your unicorn, take your very light smoky slate Stampin' Blend and shade him a little like you would a white horse. And so whenever, like normal, on the new Stampin' Up! Images, see where your lines are that come in? Stampin' Up's made it easy for you to tell where your shading goes. So odds are if there's a little bit of shading in the stamped image, then that's normally where your color shading will go. So all I'm going to do is hit those little lines really lightly with my light smoky slate here, just to add a little bit of shadow. Because we want our unicorn white, so we're just adding a little bit of shadow to him. And you can just go right over the stamped shadow areas and it automatically creates the shadow for you. So that's good enough. It'll just give him a little bit of dimension. So now what you want to do is take a pair of scissors, and you don't need to fussy cut. Oh, my thing's full. But you do need to maybe cut fairly close. So just go around your image. It's a little hard to hold this up and cut it, but fairly close. The closer you are to it, the less wax you have to melt. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just I've got a little spot here on my, and I don't know if it's going to show, so I'm going to trim it out of there. Trim off some of my excess here. So you basically end up with this. So I'm going to set that aside. And now what you want to do is get your candle, lay it on its side. Figure out where you want your image. Now take into account you can also add ribbon on the bottom of your candle. You can decorate it any way you'd like. I'm kind of going to put him right in the middle there. So then you're going to take just regular kitchen wax paper And you're gonna pull off enough that it will wrap all the way around the candle. So I'm pulling off, let me zoom out here a little bit for you. So I'm pulling off a fair amount that I know will wrap all the way around the candle. Now we've got our image there, and I'm just going to lay my wax paper over it. Oops, I went the wrong way. I'm going to lay my wax paper over it and just smooth it out. And I have enough wax paper left over here that I can grip it. And you just want to make sure that it's smooth over your image. So you've got enough wax paper there to help you kind of hold it. And just make sure there's not, wrinkles there. Because when you melt it, the wrinkles are going to show. So you just want to make sure it's smooth over your image. And now we're going to hit it with the heat tool. And you will be able to see the wax paper melting over the tissue paper. So you can see the tissue paper here a little bit. As soon as we melt that wax over it and it melts into the candle, that's not going to show. So let's go ahead and heat up our heat tool. And then and you'll be able to see it changing color. And just kind of keep your heat tool moving. And you'll see the tissue paper disappear. And you can see it melting. And just kind of keep it moving. See how the outline of that tissue paper is going away? The wax paper is just adding wax over the top of that and melting it into the candle. You can see the wax paper kind of melting, heating up. And then if you want, just take your finger and lightly go over it. And there you go. Watch this. You now have your image melted into your candle. Isn't that pretty? Now, like I said, the higher quality candle that you use, if you do like I do, I use party light candles. They have these candles that are called glow light. So when the candle is lit, it's like one of those flameless where the whole candle glows. So your image would glow through it. And they have, and this one I got because it has kind of a bark texture to it and I wanted to do a Western theme. So the higher quality candle, the better your melt is going to go. So now we would just move along to where our greeting is. What did I do with our greeting? So now I'm going to trim out our greeting. Now I got a little something on there. I'm hoping it doesn't show through when I melt the candle. I think I got a bit of something on there. So now I know I want my greeting on the opposite side. And then I'm going to add some of these swirls that are in the stamp set, but I'll do those in the white glitter. So I'm going to take that. Now, don't reuse your wax paper. If you can see this on film, you can see where the wax is gone now. It has taken the wax off of this and put it on your candle. So just get another piece of wax paper. And like I said, it helps if your wax paper goes all the way around your candle because it kind of gives you something to grip onto to hold it tight so it's not wrinkled. So I want my greeting And make sure it's square there. About, or I could do, yeah, let's do it on the back. I want it here. Now some people tape their little thing on there. I don't like to do that because I think the tape shows. So I'm just going to make sure that my greeting is even and square. Hold my wax paper tight so it's nice and tight. There's no wrinkles, because if there's a wrinkle, it's going to melt onto your candle and show a wrinkle. So let's heat up our heat tool again. And then hit our greeting. And you kind of want to keep it moving, and you'll see it. It'll change color of the tissue paper to where it doesn't show. And you can kind of see the wax itself melting. And there we go. So we peel it off. See, that one showed a little. I thought that little mark might show. But there you go. And now what I'll do is, just to spruce it up some more, is I'm going to take this little flourish, and I'm going to do that in the white sparkly embossing powder. Now you can add bling to this and everything. So whatever you put on here, as long as the wax paper covers it, it will seal it in. If you see little spots, like you don't think it melted enough, even without the wax paper, because there's already a coating of wax on there, put your heat gun to low and just lightly heat it up, and it'll melt it into there. If I need to go on my edges there a little bit, there you go. Look at that. So now I'm going to take some scrap of my tissue paper here. Let me get a stamping block. And I'm just going to use a stamping block on this. Let's see if I have some scrap tissue paper I can use here. Now I'm going to stamp a couple of flourishes. Use our embossing buddy. I mean, it's not going to hurt because you want sparkle all over your candle anyway. So let's create some flourishes. Might have room for one more on there. There we go. And we'll bring in another piece of scrap paper to catch our embossing powder. And now we're going to use this shimmer white Stampin' Embossing powder. Look, mine's almost empty. I've been using the heck out of it. So we're just going to put some of that on there. Tap it off just a little bit. I'm going to move this out of our heat gun range. If you're like me, I've hit my embossing powder with my heat tool, forgetting, and end up with embossing powder everywhere. So I'm going to heat set these. Look at that sparkle. I love this stuff. I hope it's showing up on film. And now we'll do the same thing. We're going to trim the excess. This is such a fun technique during the holidays. Make holiday candles and, fall candles. I love doing fall leaves on a candle. So decorative. And they make excellent gifts. My family kind of counts on getting new holiday candles every year that are decorated. Decorated candles in a store are pretty expensive. There's that one. Obviously, the closer you cut to your tissue paper, the less, they're going to see the outline on the candle. But like I said, the tissue paper pretty much disappears when the wax melts there. So where do we want to put these? I know I want to put one here. Okay. And you want to do it the embossing side up. So your image side up. Piece of wax paper. Well, should have done that first. Now this one you may be able to do, get a couple out of the same piece of wax paper. So I want to put this little flourish right there. I'm going to grab my wax paper, smooth it over it so it's nice and smooth, and now we'll heat set it. Oops, I got a wrinkle. Let me fix my wrinkle. So the trick is to just keep that wax paper smooth. And it helps to have your heat tool heat it up just a little bit. Okay, we'll peel it off. And I'm going to hit that just a little bit. See where it's a little bit dark? I'm simply going to hit it with my heat tool to melt it in there. See how it makes the tissue paper disappear? There you go. It melts the tissue paper right into there. And now we have a shiny little glittery piece. I think that my tissue paper has a tint to it. Or it's possibly because these are inexpensive candles. But that's basically all you do. Then you can put a row of ribbon on here. Say like you wanted to do one of your scrolls and you wanted a piece of bling on there. So all you would do is take your gemstone rhinestones. I'll just use my scissors here. Oops. I may have to go get a... So I know I want my little scroll here. Say like I wanted a rhinestone there. What we would do is we'd set those rhinestones on there. Put another one over here. Now those won't stick on their own. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay the wax paper over those and our scroll. So I want to pick a piece of the wax paper that hasn't been used. lay it flat over my image. Make sure it's flat. Now it's going to be a little hard right where these rhinestones are, but what we're going to do is we're going to melt the wax right over those rhinestones, which will seal them to the candle. And there we go. I'm going to peel that off. And then I'm going to lightly melt it in a little bit more. It makes sure that the tissue paper doesn't show. And our rhinestones are melted in there also. And there you go. So you've been able to add your bling plus your glitter. You can do this without embossing powder, so whatever you color your image. So if you color your image and you add Wink Estella to it or glitter glue, it's going to seal it in with the wax. So like I said, the higher the quality candle, of course, the better melt you're going to get. These are dollar store candles right here, so, but they decorate beautifully. By the time you add a little ribbon and a tag and wrap it, a few more little areas of your scrolls, that is candle stamping. Like I said, you can do any sort of thing. These are dollar store candles. I used the Country Living stamp set. Added a little greeting. Put a little plastic wrap and a ribbon on it. This one, if you have a piece of your designer series paper, cut it. These you would probably want to cut out fussy cut. Okay, you're not going to want the edge of your paper showing. So this is a fussy cut all the way close up and then just sealed in with the wax paper. And there you go. Now on this one, I stamped the Magnolia from Good Morning Magnolia, and I stamped it in just light smoky slate. So it would look more like a watercolor fixture. And I did color this with the Stampin' Blends. So it looks a little more watercolor effect or no line. So I'm just going to trim that one out. So you can color your image with anything you'd like, but do know that when you use the Stampin' Blends, they bleed quickly on this tissue paper. So try to cut it out as close as you can. You don't have to, but it's the less of the paper you have to, the tissue paper you have to hide with the waxes. Tissue paper is hard to cut. So now this one, I'm going to bring out another pillar. Now I was looking at this, and look at the back side of that image used with the Stampin' Blends. That really looks like a watercolor image there. Or you can use the front side. We'll go ahead and use the front side, but just know that when you use your Stampin' Blends, look at your back side where everything bled and blended. You may like your backside image better. So this one, I'm just going to put right on here. Get our wax paper. And I want this one upwards, up toward the top of the candle a little, because I am going to decorate the bottom with ribbon. Now when you put ribbon on here, lay your ribbon on there. You can either use a small push pin to hold it into place, or get your hot glue gun out and wrap your ribbon and just put a little hot glue on your ribbon to seal it down. Now, your glue's going to have to go on top of your ribbon. If you put your hot glue right on the wax, it's just going to melt. But that's one way to hold your ribbon on there. So let's see how this one turns out. So we're smoothing it out, and then we've got the back side to hold on to. Smooth out our wax paper. Make sure it's nice and smooth so you don't get any crinkles. Let's heat up our heat tool a little bit. So let's set this one. Now know if you keep your heat gun too long in the same spot, you could cause warpage to the candle itself. So just keep it moving. You'll see that once it starts going, it'll melt pretty easily. You'll see your tissue paper changing color where actually the wax is soaking into it from the wax paper. See it disappearing as the wax melts into it? Okay, now I'm going to remove my wax paper, and then I'm just going to lightly go over it. See where I missed a little spot here with the wax? Just lightly hit it with your heat gun, and it'll melt it into the candle. That one came out really pretty. I like that. Looks like a watercolor. And there we go. Look at that. So you can use your Stampin' Blends on your images so that you have really detailed images. There you go. That is all there is to candle stamping. You can go as extravagant or as minimal as you would like. I hope you enjoyed it today and you have a happy stamping day. Bye-bye now.